Hello, this is Nicholas Tanek from YourKinkyFriends.com. I have a wonderful guest with me tonight. Oh my God, we're going to talk about being a professional dominatrix. We're going to talk about sadism. We're going to talk about sensory play, knife play, fire play, of course, foot worship. But we're also going to talk about books. Yes, definitely going to talk about books. Please, everybody, welcome Mistress Holly G, or also known as Mistress Holly Golightly. Say hi.
Hi. How
Okay,
is everybody?
tell us a little bit about yourself, please.
I am a up-and-coming professional dominatrix, as I like to call myself. I've been working in the business for about a year and a half. Doing pretty well for myself so far. Most doms don't seem to really make it until year 5, so I'm aware of that. But I've been making good connections. I have what I like to say is a 20-year plan. I review books for Clio Press. I've been to Clio Dubois S&M Arts and graduated from there. I've done classes with Mistress Michelle Lacey, who is wonderful. And I am one of the few DOMs in Northwest Indiana.
Indiana. Okay. So I
Yes.
always ask, obviously you are out as a kinky person.
Yes.
But what was it like the very, very first time you embraced it and were out about it and proud of it? Was it at a munch? Was it at a party? What?
Let's see. I did go to a slosh before I was out, but
What's the
really,
spot?
a slosh?
Yes.
It's like a munch, but at a bar.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I actually was outed, and that's how I came out. My sister, who I had confided in, outed me, which was really harsh and really rough. But then, I mean, it's kind of nice because I don't have to hide anything. And then my mom will keep updated on my website, and I'll get a random message from her like, "Hey, I saw your latest photo shoot. That's so cool." I'm like, "Oh, thanks, mom."
That's pretty cool. I mean, that she's understanding about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody, some motorcycles behind me. Driving. So, okay, when it comes to Fendom, being a professional Dom, everybody has certain kind of specialties. So, what would you say your specialties are?
My specialty is definitely domestic discipline. It's what I got started with, and it's therefore my strong suit. There's other things that I'm constantly learning as much as I can about everything. So there are other things that I'm learning about and wanting to get into more, but domestic discipline, it's definitely my bread and butter. There's a big spanking community and crowd in the Midwest where I am. There's Crimson Moon in Chicago, and then in Detroit, there's the Metro Detroit Spanking Society, I believe is what it's called. So I'm kind of in between the two of them. So there's a lot of spankos around here.
Okay, so when it comes to domestic discipline, how would you define domestic discipline?
How would I define domestic discipline? Um, I for me, I do a lot of the mommy dom, and I you don't have to. I don't think that's the key to domestic discipline. I think the key to it is it being using pervertible objects and with the power exchange. I think if you're going to break it down to the basics.
Interesting. Pervertible objects. What can you give us some examples of some?
Well, when most clients think of domestic discipline, they think of being taken over the knee of a woman in power, mom, grandma, aunt, nun, teacher, whomever. And in those, it's more of an impassioned scene where they need to be disciplined. They need to be disciplined right now. And that female is just going to grab whatever is handy: a ruler, a slipper, a spatula. Those would be pervertibles. Rather than, like, oh, I need to go down to the toy box and get a paddle out. No, they would use a cutting board. They would
What
use
about
dad's belt
a book?
or a book.
Yeah. Yeah, you love books.
Yes, you could definitely do librarian scene and have a book as a paddle.
All right. Poor book. All right, let's talk about Clio Dubois' Academy of S&M. How did you get involved with that, and what was that like? What was that process like?
I say jokingly, talked into it by Eve Minax. Cleo had recently lost her love and was thinking about not doing it anymore. She wasn't sure if she could access her Clio space. So it was going to be one of she thought it might be the last um, dominatrix intensives, pro intensives that she was going to do. And there's so few of those, especially after Sesta Fosta, that I really wanted to jump on it. And the other thing is I had read Different Loving and quite a few interviews with Cleo, and I really liked her technique. She was more focused on the spiritual and emotional connection, which most people don't seem to focus on with professional domination. I liked her take on it. So I decided to that was my big expenditure last year, was to fly out and do that. I had a couple good sponsors that helped me with that, which was excellent. And we went over some of the basics. We did spanking and flogging and basics like that. But there was also quite a bit about how to read your bottom and how to connect with your bottom and the energy exchange of it. We had the option of divided into 3 groups at one point because we couldn't cover everything. She'd have to have like at least a week long intensive to cover everything. And people who've been in the business will tell you even that is not nearly enough. But we had the option of working on single toe whips, electric play, or needle play. And I went with needle play because Cleo, that was a big thing that she and Fakir did, was piercing and the energy exchange and how it was like a rite and we're spiritual, the spiritual aspect of it. And that was a really powerful thing to watch and a really good thing to learn. I mean, it's not how most people teach play piercing. I mean, when you learn play piercing, you come at it from a very technical aspect because it's edge play, it's medical play. You're piercing someone, there's risk of infection, there's blood, you have to make sure everything's sterile. But she was not only talking about that, she was talking about how um, you're entering the person and piercing their aura and bringing something in as well as letting something out. And it was really deep. I don't think I've ever seen anyone talk about kink in that manner. I know when you go to conventions, there's a lot of woo classes. I had never taken them. This was as close that I gotten. So it was a really good experience.
Okay. So, you're in Indiana, right?
Yes.
What's that scene like? See, I'm in New Jersey, which is right in between New York and Philly. And even in New Jersey, like when Test Fest and Exotica comes here to New Jersey, it's literally 10 minutes away from my house. So there's a kink scene, like everywhere you can go. But so how would you describe the kink scene in Indiana?
There is one, believe it or not, because the state is extremely conservative, but there's pockets of it. So there's a fairly decent sized pocket in Valparaiso. Um, that's partially probably because Valparaiso University is right here. There's one out in South Bend. There's one in Lafayette. There's one in Indianapolis. And basically, you have to travel to them. And it's mostly lifestylers. And they will get together and they'll have private play parties. Some of the larger areas occasionally will be able to rent a space and you can have a community play party like that. I have a friend who has a large space that he has outfitted with furniture, and once a month he throws a party and all the lifestylers come together and do that. If you're not up for that, because the scene here is kind of clicky. If you want something larger, more inclusive, then you go to Chicago, which I'm about 45 minutes outside of Chicago. And then there's GD2, Galleria Domain 2. There's LRA. There's the Hurt Room. There's a big scene up in Chicago, and that's basically what you have to do.
Yeah, 45 minutes away. That's not bad at all.
No, it's not. I mean, it depends on traffic because there was one time I was going to go up for a Fireplay demo, and it would have taken me 3 hours to get up there because they were working on the road, construction. So I had to miss out on that one because I had not allotted 3 hours for my 45-minute commute.
I've been to Chicago many times. I really I always had a good time there. Always had a good time. I really do love that city. Okay, let's talk about sadism. So
Yes.
I always ask this because you're sadistic. I always ask this when it comes to sadism. What is the most sadistic thing you've ever done?
Okay, so there's two things that come to mind. And I'd like to make the disclaimer, I only do these things upon request. Otherwise, I am sweet as pie.
Okay.
I will not do these things to you if you did not ask. So, one, I had a client and he wanted to be spanked as hard as I possibly could for 5 minutes straight.
Ouch.
It drew blood. It was messy.
And you do it with your hand?
No, with a paddle.
Oh, paddle. Okay, yeah.
Pretty heavy duty paddle. I made sure to bandage him up well and send him on his merry way. He was very satisfied, but yeah, that was the most hardcore sadistic thing. I also enjoy a good bit of psychological fuckery. So when I first started, Craigslist was still around.
Oh God.
And yes, I saw my first clients from Craigslist, and there was one guy I went to go see, and he liked to be restrained, made sure there was no escape, and then he wanted me to piss him off while I beat him. So the first thing I did as soon as I got there is, tied him up because that's what he wanted. And he was nervous. He's like, I've never done anything like this before. And as I was tying him up, I was asking him questions like, did you tell anyone you were doing this? No. Do you have a safety call? No. All these things that you are supposed to do when you vet someone and see someone for the first time on the internet. So I get them all tied up. I made sure that no clocks were in view. And I said, all right, bye. And I turned around and I left. And I went to the front door and I opened and closed it. So it sounded like I left. He completely flipped out. He was definitely struggling. And I'd say that he got what he asked for. I went back a few minutes later, but I enjoy fear play in that manner.
That's funny that you say that because I write about this in the book, Your Kinky Friends. I have a friend named Mistress Cassie, who's a professional dominatrix, and she's an actual friend, and she was back in town, and she met me. She was like, "You got to come to this hotel. You got to come to this hotel. Yeah, I need you to do something." And then I won't get into what we had to do afterwards, but I walk into the hotel. She's all like dressed up with a big strap-on dildo. There's a guy tied to the bed. She takes the strap-on dildo off. She takes her clothes off. She puts it on regular, vanilla clothes. Takes a dildo, puts it a vibrating dildo, puts it in his ass. He's still tied to the bed. She takes the ball gag out of his mouth because if something really wrong is happening, then he could scream. And then she just closed the door. And first of all, I didn't know where we were going. And if you read the book, you'll find out where we're going. But he didn't know how long he was going to be stuck down there. And he was there for a while too. So that is always interesting. I used to love doing that. I used to love when playing the dom role, tying women up and putting vibrators inside them and then going downstairs to have a drink. Yeah. When I'm gonna come back. Okay, so let's get to you were talking about the internet, but you're talking about Craigslist. Now with Foster Festa, the Craigslist personals is shut down, Backpage is shut down, and even FetLife is changing, and Tumblr is and Facebook are taking out a lot of sex stuff out. So as someone who's relatively new to being a professional dominatrix, you said a year and a half?
Yep.
All right. So how are you dealing with all of this, and what are some ways sex workers and professionals can get their brand out there, market themselves, and connect with people?
Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
That's the basis of it. I built my own website. I made sure that my SEO is good, my search engine optimization. So when you look for a dominatrix in Indiana, you find me. I have clients from Indianapolis and Terre Haute, hours and hours away, who will come up and see me because, well, they don't know how to find anyone else, to put it bluntly. But I mean, I'm the first one that comes up. So there's that. Twitter, networking. I have business cards printed up, and whenever I go to an event, I introduce myself. Hi, I'm Holly, and I give them my card. Going to conventions and things like that, just making friends. It really helps.
Definitely.
There's other places that are popping up. I'm on a couple groups on FetLife, and the sex workers are taking matters into our own hands and creating new places to meet people. I mean, there's Twitter. Tryst is a new one. Mind Your Dom on FetLife. I don't remember the name of her website that she's building, but she's building one. There's other places that are coming up. So just kind of keep your ear to the ground, figure out what's going to be the new big thing, try different stuff, see what your friends are using to advertise. I started on Tryst because I saw Goddess Sombra was on Tryst.
Shout out to Goddess Sombra, and also Miss Mackenzie.
Yes.
Mackenzie led me to you, so that's great. And they are both awesome interviews. So check out those interviews too; they're great. Okay, let's talk knife play. Knife play can get a bit dangerous. So,
Yeah.
what are some safety issues that you suggest people take? People who don't have any experience with knife play. What are some safety issues that you may suggest, or that you use yourself?
I am newer to knife play, and I have not been taught in a way that makes me feel comfortable to delve into it too much. Not to mention, like I said, most of my clients are spankos and newbies, and they get scared so easy. So you have to be very gentle. You have to go very slow. So for knife play, I like to do more sensual knife play and some sensory deprivation and a little bit of mind fuckery. So have your bottom restrained so they don't move. Blindfold them. There's other aspects to knife play other than the blade. You can run your finger along the edge of it just to make the sound, especially if there's ones that are like double pronged so you can hear the knife. You could cut through something that is not on your bottom. You can take a piece of rope or paracord, cut it with a sharp knife so they can hear the rope being cut, but it's not actually on them. You can use a very dull knife to remove wax or just running along their skin. One of my favorite knives to play with is actually a cheese knife. It is very dull and it looks
Oh yeah.
very unsexy. There is a reason you were blindfolded when I used it. So, but the other thing you can do is you can use things that are not actually knives, but your bottom thinks might be a knife if they're blindfolded. Like in the scrapbooking section, you can get a paper creaser, and it looks like a bone. It looks like a sharp, pointy bone, but it's used for creasing papers. The edge of a credit card, a guitar pick, things that are not actually knives that they might think are a knife.
Wow. Okay. So one of the things that you're also into, or that you do, is foot worship. Now, I was talking to a lady last night about foot worship, who does a lot of foot videos, and I'm always wondering, foot fetishists, one of the most popular fetishes in the world,
Yes.
right? 100%. One, I mean, it doesn't really do much for me. I do like a nice stocking, in heels, like that does something for me. But just feet. But so, why do you think it is one of the most popular fetishes in the world?
Feet are extremely expressive. I have an art background, and we like to jokingly say that feet are the hands of the leg. I mean, if you
Yeah,
describe something really good sex, it's toe curling good.
good point. Interesting.
You can tell a lot by someone's feet. Are they pointing? Are they curling? Is the arch wrinkled? And if you look at the feet, just analyze the feet. They're curvy. There's the curve of the toe. There's the arch of the foot.
Yeah,
It arches from around the ball and up into the arch and then the heel again. If you look at it, when a foot is vertical, it almost has that nice hourglass figure to it. So you can look at it that way.
interesting.
The The toes, you can paint them and it can be a whole art form. And people are more inclined, almost, I think, to suck on toes than to suck on fingers. And when you start sucking on just a small appendage on someone, it really makes them think about other appendages that would be fun to have, sucked on and nibbled. And it can be a really sensual part of the body if you stop and think about it. But most people are like, ew, feet are gross. The other thing is that feet are really powerful. They have to put up with a lot. They have to support your body weight all day as you're standing, walking, running, jumping. And so they take a lot of abuse. And if you the spots that are not all roughed up, extremely sensitive.
Definitely. Great answer. Okay, let's talk Fireplay.
Yes.
The banner for this interview is you with the flame. So tell us a little bit about, for people who don't know what Fireplay is, tell us a little bit about what you do with fire.
Again, with the psychological fuckery. Fire, it seems, it's very dangerous. It is edge play. So you have to be careful when you're working with it. But I almost think of it more as a hot massage than anything else. Have you experienced any fire play?
A little bit, like cupping.
Yeah, I've done cupping. I like actually when you run the wand over the body. When you use it on the skin, because it feels almost like you're being licked.
Mm.
And it's really warm. To be careful if you run over the same spot multiple times. I think the worst part is that, it burns off that nice downy layer of fur that most people have on them.
Yeah, true.
So, it's more of a psychological rush than anything else.
But just like knife play, safety is an issue too. What are some things you do to keep your fireplace safe?
I make sure to keep my fuel away from the fire as much as possible. I make sure to have a wet towel around so that if something should catch fire that it's not supposed to be on fire, you can throw the damp towel on it immediately and extinguish it. I keep a fire extinguisher around. Do not use a fire extinguisher on a person unless it's worst case scenario. Those do not mix. Wet blanket first. Make sure you have water around. Make sure that you are on a flame resistant surface. So if you're gonna try this at home, don't do it on the bed with all the bed sheets around. If you're gonna do anything like that, make sure you're laying on a wet blanket first. Try to be as safe as possible with it. Take the obvious risks out of the equation. Okay. You can read a lot of good tutorials online, but Fireplay, you really need to learn from someone like in person.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about books. Yes. I'm an author. You do book reviews, and one thing, like we were talking about this before we even started the interview, that when I was kind of marketing The Coolest Way, it got lumped in with romance books, even though it's not a romance novel. It's what I call a memoir or a love story, which is all true. And but because of 50 Shades of Grey, there's been a lot of people trying to jump on the bandwagon and make erotica books or books about BDSM. So that's one reason I made your Kinky Friends the book. So what are some books about BDSM, either fiction or nonfiction, that you would recommend?
My number one book recommendation right now is called Tongue Tied, and it looks for all the world like a kink book, but it's really about communication. I've reviewed this one. It's on my blog, and I recommend it for humans who want to talk to other humans.
Is it a fictional book or a nonfiction book?
It's a nonfiction book. It has all these awesome bits about relationships and how to communicate. And I was reading it and I recognized most of them, but it's bits of communication that I have spent the good part of a decade picking up. I noticed one from an interpersonal communications class I had. I noticed another one from the hypnotism class I'm taking. I found another one from some mindfulness training that I'd gotten recommended for some anxiety. I just all over the place. And definitely stuff that you hear about in the kink scene, but everyone recommends Screw the Roses, and the new topping book, Tongue Tied, is going to be right up there, I'm pretty sure.
Do you? I have not read your reviews, but do you also review fiction?
I did review some fiction. So, Kleist Press, I get to pick the new releases that are coming up. And I normally like to go with the how to or the educational books, things like that. And they didn't have anything coming up too recently. So, I decided to delve into some of the erotica. And Legends of Lust is one that I just read. And it's a really good, it's a compilation of erotic stories set in mythological tales from around the world.
Oh wow, interesting. Legends.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I said, when I wrote The Coolest Way and I had to promote it, I was given a lot of books, and I had to deal with a lot of authors, riding the bandwagon of 50 Shades, and there are some horrible, horrible terms for sexual organs. Yes. So this is a list that a quick list that I just thought of. These are all I've all read these in one book or another. So just prepare yourself for this.
Okay.
Molten member. Turgid shaft. Slit. That one's charming. Fiery furnace. Oh, look, this one is alliteration. Pleasure or pearl of passion. Velvet maw. And then of course is the overuse of the word moist. So what are some horrible terms or phrases that's used for sexual organs, genitalia?
I have blocked out most of them. I heard one author refer to testicles as globes. They were trying to romanticize it, and I'm like, no. The other one that I read when I was young and reading erotica on the internet, someone referred to semen as baby batter, and that just scarred me, I think.
Was it like a funny book, or I mean,
it was not. It was serious. They were being serious. It was like fan fiction erotica or something I was reading online. Baby batter. It was so bad.
Baby batter. I heard what, stomach pancakes.
Oh no.
Yeah, stomach pancakes. Okay, so let's talk about vetting. Like I said, you're relatively new. You have a 10-year, 20-year plan, but still, it can get kind of dangerous. You don't know who you're talking to. So without giving your whole technique away, because you got to keep them guessing, obviously.
Right.
What are some ways you vet people?
I always ask for a reference. I don't always get it because I'm new, and some people are also new, and they don't have. I get a lot of newbies, a lot of scared newbies. I just filling out my contact form, seeing if they can follow basic instructions. Really is a big part of it.
And one thing that all the professional doms that I talk to, one of their major things is don't waste their time.
Oh no. I mean, this takes a lot of emotional energy and a lot of mental, what is the term? The mental load? Something like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, you're just one person, but I might have 20 of you that I have to deal with. So follow my instructions. I have a very thorough website. I cross-link things. If you're on page 1 and you want to make a session with me, I probably have it highlighted and linked directly to the contact form for you to fill out. Everything's hyperlinked. There's really no excuse. Oh, you don't know how to send me the deposit? The word deposit is underlined and it's hyperlinked back to how you do a deposit. The methods are all right there with hyperlinks to the place where you can send the deposit. So yeah, following basic instructions, I don't want to be like grammar Nazi, but if you can write a coherent sentence to me and tell me what you want, because if you can't tell me what you want, then I certainly don't know what you want.
My mother was an English teacher, so I was always, my grammar was always corrected like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, and she always says, "You are your language. You know you are what you write. You are what you say, and how you speak." So it's always very important to do it in a clear and proper way.
The
Um,
ones that drive me crazy are when I get like, "Hi, beautiful, how are you? Want to chat?" Like from FetLife.
oh my god, I have a whole article of just weird messages I've gotten from FetLife. I didn't use the names of the people, but I have screenshots of that. You know that they're real messages. Like everybody from like just saying weird shit. Who or one person wants to be a carrot and like wants to be in my garden buried up to their head and stuff. It's fun, weird stuff.
That would actually be a really fun scene.
So, but it's not necessarily what their kink is. It's
Yeah.
more necessarily how they approach it. You
Yes.
know what I mean? Um, you know, then there's the copy pasta stuff. You know, don't
Yeah.
people on FetLife do not just copy and paste a message and send it to a bunch of people. You know, personalize it. It makes all the difference. Know that you
Yes.
read their profile. Read their profile. Okay, personal versus professional. There are some professional dominatrixes who, you know, it's work. For sex work is work. So they, you know, and they do all these kinky stuff professional, but sometimes they come home with a significant other or other people that they do things with, and they kind of just want a vanilla relationship. Sometimes some people live it 24/7. You know what I mean? How much of what you do is professional and versus personal?
Um, I mean, professionally, it checks all my boxes for job satisfaction. It's fun. I can make my own schedule. It's a decent wage when I get work, but I mean, being a dominatrix, it is not steady work. That's a whole other thing. But at home, I do it when I can. I can't do it 24/7 at home. I and my personal dynamic at home is different. I don't do the femdom thing at home.
Oh, okay. That was my next question. So, what is it still a kinky dynamic or a vanilla dynamic?
It's still a kinky dynamic, but we don't do power exchange. Power exchange would not work for us. So it's interesting because we're both coming from toppy perspective. I'm married. My husband is a rigger. He's really good. He's total rope geek. Um, but I started with the kinky stuff by bottoming for him, actually. So he's gotten a little bit more sadistic. He ties other people primarily. So he's gotten more sadistic with his rope ties. So occasionally we'll compare notes, which is fun. And we'll take classes together to learn different skills, which is always interesting because, we have to switch on who's going to be the demo bottom. And it's like, well, I don't really want to hit you because I know you don't want to be hit, but I need to practice. And the other person will say, well, you can practice on me. It's okay. It's kind of funny. Like, I don't want to hit you, but you can hit me. And we go back and forth like that.
Well, that's cool. So, I'm always interested in how kinky people meet, and him being a rigger, obviously, he's a kinky person, and him being married to a professional dominatrix obviously makes both of you kinky people. So, how did you two meet? And you don't have to give me like crazy details, and certainly don't mention his name because, but you know, yeah. So, how did you two find each other?
We are an OK Cupid success story.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Just a,
But we've been married for a while. We were vanilla when we met. I've always been fairly sexually open and probably a little kinky. Like I was thinking about this earlier today, and like, well, I wasn't really raised in a conservative household, so I didn't know that the sexy stuff that we talked about, thought about, things like that. I didn't know that that was kinky and weird. So when we got together, I definitely brought interesting suggestions to the relationship, and we've kind of gone from there.
Okay, so Tangled Blue, who also is I love to death. She is part of your kinky friend. She writes some wonderful articles, and she loves eroticism and erotic literature. she was talking about the terms, your terms, baby batter and globes. She says, spunk monkey, slap beef, and this is a new one. Chunder in her hole. Okay. So
Those just make me giggle.
yeah. Tango Blue always makes me giggle. Okay, let's talk about. All right, so like I said, like you said, you're relatively new compared to the legends.
Yes.
A year and a half. You know what you're talking about. You have experience, but the kink rabbit hole always goes deeper. So,
Oh yeah.
what are some new things that you even haven't tried yet that you're interested in, or that you're just getting into?
New thing that I haven't tried yet would be artistic cutting.
Oh,
Because I have an art background and I like tattoos, and scarification seems to be the new tattoo. Because tattoos you can get removed. They're increasing the effectiveness and speed with which you can have tattoos removed. So even tattoos aren't permanent anymore. So scarification is the new tattoo, and you can do that via branding. And I've been to a branding demo that looks really interesting. I would like to try that sometime. And artistic cutting. The artistic cutting, I'm a little hesitant about because of the blood. So that's a thing I'm going to have to process and work through. I'm not sure if I would be able to do that on someone or not, but it looks. I've seen some really cool artistic cuttings.
interesting. Okay, cool. All right. Rapid fire recommendation, and they don't have to be kink related. Okay.
Okay,
All right. Recommend a movie.
Lilo and Stitch.
Oh yeah. Wait, is that the dogs and the cat?
No,
Oh, that's
that's
Milo. That's Milo.
that's completely different.
Completely. Yeah, that's a cartoon. That's an animated one, right?
Yeah, it's a Disney cartoon. Lilo's a little Hawaiian girl, and Stitch is an alien from outer space, and he's been programmed to destroy, and he can't survive in water, and he lands in Hawaii.
Oh, okay.
It's about
Yeah,
finding family in your place in the
I
world.
got confused with the dog and cat movie going down the river, stuff like that. Okay. Recommend a book.
Tongue tied.
Okay, fair enough. Recommend a sex toy.
Ooh. I think I would have to go with the Hitachi Magic Wand because it's so versatile. I
It
mean,
is.
it's extremely powerful and it has all those different attachments that you can get for it
Oh
now.
God.
There's a
Mm-hmm.
good clit stimulator. You can turn it into a rabbit. There's a masturbation sleeve for it. I saw one. It's not quite a masturbation sleeve. It's like a cap that goes on the end of it. So it just like goes over the end of the penis and stimulates it that way, which would be great for orgasm torture.
Oh God, yeah, yeah. Oh, trust me, we have all those attachments.
Yeah. Yeah. So
There's an attachment, an electric attachment. It's a box, and you could change the intensity of it. You can make it
yeah.
real light, make it real hot. Yeah, that thing is awesome.
Yeah.
All right, recommend a book. Recommend a song.
I am not. Oh, You Don't Own Me. That one always makes me laugh. I like that one when it comes on in the dungeon.
Okay. Recommend a TV show.
Ooh. Lost Girl.
Ooh, I'm not familiar with that.
You need to look it up. It was on the Sci-Fi Channel. It's about a succubus who solves crime.
Ooh, I'll check that out.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, very
Okay.
sexy. Excellent watching.
Okay. Recommend a meal.
Recommended meal. Chicken and waffles.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Recommend anything.
Recommend everything. Pilates.
Okay. Now we're talking about music. Do you use music in your sessions?
I want to, but I'm not. It's one of my failings as an artistic person. I never really got into music, so I've been trying to get into it a little bit more and look into different playlists and stuff on Spotify and Pandora. There's I'm always so busy in my life that when I have a chance to just sit, I like the quiet.
Oh yeah.
So
No.
unless I'm in the car,
Yeah.
I'm not listening to music much.
I personally I like the ambient stuff, like Brian
Yeah.
Eno, um, in instrumental ambient stuff. A lot of like ethereal keyboards and stuff. And then there's like, the instrumental versions of other songs, like versions of Portishead or Dead Can Dance and stuff like that. That's always good. Okay, so we're winding down now. This is the word association game.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to say a word or a phrase. You say the first thing that pops into your head. Okay, so if I say chastity, you might say lock. But let's say you're hungry and I say chastity. And the first thing that pops into your head is chicken and waffles. You could say chicken and waffles. No wrong answer. And that's rule number one. Clear your mind and say the first word that pops in your head. Do not hesitate. Literally. It could be a moan. It doesn't matter. All right. Second rule, we don't kink shame. So if I'm going to say a bunch of different kinks, and I'm sure there's going to be one that you're not into. Instead of making fun of it or like acting disgusted by it, just say, not my thing. Okay? Then we have the jar. Tango Blue gave me this jar. Now, everything I say is off the top of my head too, and it's always going to be kink related. But Tango Blue sent me this jar filled with little pieces of paper with most of it's kink stuff, but some of it is just absurd, weird stuff. So we have a very absurd and weird and funny, silly sense of humor. So she really did add this to this game, to the sense of surprise. I don't know what I'm picking out from here. Okay.
Okay.
Ready to go?
Yes.
Okay. Sissies.
Parlor.
The Hitachi magic wand.
Fun.
The violet wand.
Pikachu.
That's a good one. Straight jackets.
Straight jackets. Sewing. I actually have fixed a couple straight jackets.
Nice. All right. Choking.
Heimlich.
Fireplay.
Extinguisher.
Wax play.
Knife.
Knife play.
Sing.
All right. Cunnilingus.
Debate.
Fisting.
Gloves.
Coerced bisexuality.
Negotiation.
Okay. The St. Andrew's Cross.
Comfy.
Okay. The daddy baby girl dynamic.
Misunderstood.
Butt plugs.
Keeps demons from escaping.
That's a new one. That's good. Okay, corsets.
Pretty.
Cosplay.
Furries.
Ooh, pet play.
Tail.
Okay, I'm going into the jar.
Okay.
All right. Sweat.
Rag.
Spit.
Spittoon.
Nice. Kitten.
Aw.
Cock.
Balls.
Tantrum.
Ooh, corner time.
Dick pic.
Unsolicited.
All right. Medical play.
Hello, nurse.
Nun play.
Ooh. Prayer bench.
Consensual kidnapping. All right, that works. All right. What about consensual, non-consensual?
Hot.
Or rape? Oh, interesting. Okay. Water sports.
Shower.
Okay. Finally reached the end. Scat.
Cat.
Ah, okay. Oh my God, Mistress Holly G. Holly Golightly. Breakfast at Tiffany's. I was okay. Just stay on the line after we're done.
Okay.
I'd like to talk with you just for a couple minutes, really quick, don't waste time. And but please use this time now to promote anything and everything you want to promote, all social media, any events you're going to, you name it. Go.
Okay, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, which I believe have been linked. There's my website, which has both of those things on it. I am frequently at Mistress Alexander Sadista's foot fetish parties in Chicago, held at the studio. If you haven't been, you need to go. It is lovely. And if you are a female femdom, would like to talk to me more, join Femdom Book Club. We're on Twitter. You can message myself or Russian Queen M, and we will add you to the group. I believe our next discussion is on February 17th at, I think, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and we will be covering the Mistress Manual.
Oh, wow. Cover my book. Cover your kinky friends.
It's a group vote. I'll throw it out.
Throw it out, please. Okay, great. All right, this is Nicholas Tanek from Your Kinky Friends. Check out yourkinkyfriends.com. We have a Discord chat group, which is great. It's growing. It's got a bunch of different rooms and everything like that. It's real fun. Check me out on Twitter at Nicholas Tanek. Check me out on Instagram at Nick Tanek. Check out, we have separate accounts at Friends Kinky on both Instagram and Twitter. You can find me on Facebook. We have a Facebook Kinky Friends page, but it's just called YKF. Take that Facebook. So yeah, so it's getting late. My Dom is calling me. Remember the cardinal rule: be cool, be kind, and keep an open mind. Have a great night.